You ever meet someone who looks like they've got it all together, but something just feels off? They smile, they pose, they wear the right clothes, say the right words, but deep down you can tell something's broken. You might not see it right away, but over time it shows in their tone, how they treat people, and how they respond when things don't go their way. That's the thing about the inside. It always finds a way to leak through the surface. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked in with you? Not your outfit, not your weight, not your bank account or your relationship status. You, the part of you no one sees, the thoughts you carry, the pain you've buried, the lies you keep telling yourself just to get through the day. You keep fixing the outside, hoping it'll make the inside feel better. But it never does it? There's a reason why everything feels temporary when you're empty on the inside. You can't dress up a wound and call it healed. You can't perform confidence and expect to feel it. You can't paste on positivity when your heart is screaming for help. What if I told you your breakthrough isn't in becoming someone new, but in repairing what you've been hiding? What if the glow you're chasing isn't found in a routine or a resolution, but in the quiet work nobody claps for? This isn't about perfection. This is about power, the kind that starts inside where no one's watching. And when you get that right, everything else falls into place. Let's talk about what it really means to fix the inside before it shows on the outside. Because whether you like it or not, it will show. And it's your choice whether it breaks you or builds you. You see, self-image isn't built when you're standing in front of a mirror, adjusting your hair, your clothes, your makeup, or your posture. That's performance. That's surface level. That's you trying to control how the world sees you. But real self-image, the kind that gives you confidence when no one's around to applaud you, is built in silence, in private, in the moments when you're not performing for anyone, in the stillness where you confront your own reflection, not the one in the mirror, but the one in your mind. Most people don't realize that what they believe about themselves is more powerful than anything they project. The mirror can only reflect what's visible, but your real self-image is formed by the words you whisper to yourself when you fail. It's formed by how you respond when no one validates you. It's built in the moments you feel invisible, overlooked, or underestimated. And instead of folding, you decide to rise anyway. That's where the real image begins. People are obsessed with perception. We spend hours trying to look put together, trying to be liked, accepted, admired. But here's the truth. If your inside is chaotic, insecure, broken, or bitter, no amount of appearance will cover that for long. You can paint over a cracked wall, but the vein is still there. And eventually it'll show. You'll snap at people who don't deserve it. You'll seek validation in all the wrong places. You'll compare yourself to people who don't even know you exist. Why? Because deep down, you haven't made peace with yourself. You haven't owned your identity. You haven't built the kind of foundation that holds firm when life shakes you. Self-image is not about how you look. It's about what you believe you deserve. It's about the standard you set for yourself behind closed doors. It's about whether you show up with discipline or whether you break every promise you make to yourself. That's what shapes how you see you, because no amount of compliments can fill the void created by self-betrayal. When you tell yourself, I'll wake up early, but you don't. I'll stop letting people walk all over me, but you do. I'll finally start healing from what happened, but you avoid it again. Every time you abandon your own boundaries, your self-image erodes a little more, and you start to believe that you don't have what it takes. That's why silence matters. Because in silence, the truth shows up. There's no crowd to distract you, no filter to protect you, just you and the version of yourself you've been carrying. Silence is where the real work begins. It's where you start rewriting the story you've been living in. It's where you begin to build confidence that isn't tied to looks, likes, or labels, but to choices, to who you choose to be, even when no one is watching. You want to feel better about yourself? Then stop chasing the image and start confronting the reality. Ask yourself, what do I believe about me? Do I believe I'm enough? Do I believe I can handle challenges? Do I believe I'm worthy of respect, love, and peace? Because if the answer is no, it doesn't matter what's on the outside. You'll always find a way to sabotage your own success. You'll tolerate relationships that shrink you. You'll say yes when you mean no. You'll chase approval instead of walking in purpose. You can't afford to lie to yourself anymore. Not if you want to live free, not if you want to lead others, not if you want real peace. You need to sit with your thoughts and rewire the beliefs that no longer serve you. You need to stop repeating the labels someone else put on you: too emotional, too much, not good enough, not strong enough. Rip those off. They don't belong to you. You weren't born with them. They were given to you, and you have the power to give them back. Do you know what happens when you build your self-image in silence? You stop needing permission. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop shrinking to fit into rooms you were never meant to stay in. Because now you're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to honor the work you've done in the dark. You know your value not because someone clapped for you, but because you survived the process. You healed. You changed. You grew. And that confidence doesn't just show, it radiates. You walk into a room and people feel it. You don't have to announce it. You don't need validation. Your presence speaks louder than your words. Because your self-image isn't built on noise or on applause. It's built on consistency, integrity, and inner peace. So if you're tired of pretending, tired of chasing, tired of breaking down in secret while you perform in public, then maybe it's time to stop staring at the mirror and start going inward. Clean out the mental junk, rewire the broken thoughts, replace the lies with truth. That's how you fix the inside. That's how you become someone, not just look like someone. Because eventually, everything you've buried will surface. The question is, will it expose your pain or reveal your power? You decide. Power doesn't come from how loud you are. It doesn't come from how tough you act, how intimidating you try to be, or how many people fear you. Real power, the kind that builds an unshakable life, comes from emotional mastery. The ability to feel deeply, but not fall apart. To be angry, but not react in ways you regret. To be afraid, but still move forward with courage. That's what separates the strong from the unstable. Most people are emotional reactors, not emotional leaders. They live on edge, constantly swinging between highs and lows, celebrating one moment and collapsing the next. They think they're strong because they speak their mind, but half the time they're not speaking, they're exploding. And what they're calling realness is really just emotional immaturity. Let's be honest, being led by your emotions is one of the fastest ways to lose control of your life. Because when you can't control what's going on inside you, the world will always feel like an attack. Every comment will feel like an insult. Every delay will feel like rejection. Every boundary someone sets will feel like betrayal. The truth is, emotions are not the enemy. They're information. They're signals from within that are trying to tell you something. Anger isn't bad. Sadness isn't weakness. Even fear has a message. The problem is not that you feel. It's that you've never been taught how to sit with what you feel without becoming a slave to it. You weren't taught how to pause, breathe, and ask, where is this emotion coming from? What's the deeper message here? Am I responding or reacting? There's a major difference between reacting emotionally and responding intelligently. When you react, you're not thinking. You're surviving. You're letting that emotional surge drive the wheel, and it almost always drives you straight into regret. You say things you didn't mean. You burn bridges that didn't need to be burned. You hurt people who were actually trying to help. And then later, when the emotion passes, you're left cleaning up a mess that didn't have to happen. But when you master your emotions, you become dangerous in the best way. Why? Because you can't be manipulated. You can't be baited. You don't fall into traps or get pulled into drama because you have a grip on yourself. You're not out here being controlled by moods. You're anchored in purpose. And don't mistake calm for weakness. The person who can stay calm under pressure is the one who holds the real power in the room. You ever watch someone who's calm while everyone else is losing it? That's emotional mastery. That's control. That's the result of inner discipline and the refusal to be ruled by feelings. Because feelings are temporary, but the damage they can cause when they're unchecked, that can last a lifetime. Let's take a moment to be real. Some of the most painful decisions you've made weren't logical decisions. They were emotional ones. You said yes when you should have said no. You stayed longer than you should have. You quit something you should have kept going. You let fear stop you, anger lead you, insecurity hold you. Why? Because your emotions were driving, and when emotions drive, they don't care about long-term results. They care about right now. Relief, validation, revenge, comfort. But emotional mastery forces you to think past the now and into the next. It asks you, if I give into this emotion, where does it lead? Who pays the price for this choice? You're not meant to deny your emotions. You're meant to direct them. Use your anger to fuel your discipline, not your destruction. Let your sadness soften your heart, not shut it down. Channel your fear into preparation, not paralysis. That's what powerful people do. They don't pretend they're never hurt or afraid. They simply refuse to let those feelings define them. You've got to get to a place where your peace can't be stolen by petty things, where your worth isn't up for negotiation every time someone rejects you, where your day doesn't get derailed because someone said something ignorant or treated you unfairly. You've got to reach the point where you lead yourself, no matter what's happening around you. Because if you don't master your emotions, someone else will, and they will use them to control you. Think about how many times someone got under your skin on purpose. Think about how many times your buttons were pushed, because someone knew they could trigger you. When you don't have emotional control, you become predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. But when you become unshakable, when people realize they can't get a rise out of you, can't guilt you, shame you, or push you, you become a force. You're not reacting anymore. You're choosing. And that is the beginning of true strength. You weren't born to be ruled by chaos. You were born to rule your own life. But that only happens when you get a grip on your inner world. Start being intentional about how you manage your energy. Stop giving your peace to people who haven't earned your trust. Stop letting temporary emotions create permanent scars. Learn how to pause before responding. Learn how to breathe before breaking. Learn how to sit in discomfort without needing to escape. Because emotional mastery doesn't make you cold. It makes you powerful. It doesn't make you less human. It makes you more in control of your humanity. You'll still feel, but you'll feel with wisdom. You'll still cry, but you'll cry with courage. You'll still get angry, but you'll fight the right battles. Not every battle, and that right there is how you build a life that doesn't fall apart every time the world shakes. Your emotions are valid, but they are not the leader. You are. Now it's time to start acting like it. We live in a world that's obsessed with appearance. The right clothes, the perfect angle, the flawless skin, the curated image that tells everyone I've got it together. But here's the thing, no one tells you. Appearance can get attention, but only character earns respect. You can dress up your outside all you want, but if the inside is rotten, it's only a matter of time before people see the truth. Because no matter how beautiful you look, if you treat people poorly, manipulate your way through life, or fold under pressure, your looks won't save you. That's why real power, real success, real value, it comes from character, not cosmetics. Character is who you are when there's no camera, no audience, no reward. It's how you treat the waiter. It's what you say about people behind their back. It's how you handle power when you have it and how you handle loss when it's taken away. You see, charm can get you in the room, but character decides whether you stay there. Because people may be impressed by how you look, but they trust you because of who you are. And let's be honest, we've all met people who looked incredible, but 5 minutes in, their attitude ruined everything. You walk away thinking, yeah, they were attractive, but there's something about them that just felt ugly. That's the effect of poor character. It seeps through your words, your tone, your energy. No matter how polished you are on the outside, if the inside is bitter, insecure, arrogant, or fake, it eventually leaks out. And when it does, it's louder than your appearance. The truth is, you can't Photoshop your personality. You can't filter your integrity. You can't contour your values. And you can't fake consistency. Sooner or later, the real you shows up. And when that happens, your looks won't matter. What will matter is whether people trust you, whether your words match your actions, whether you stand for something or fall for everything. People often think they need to look a certain way to be valuable. That's a lie the world sold you. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. What you need is honesty. What you need is discipline. What you need is a heart that isn't easily swayed by trends or broken by criticism. That's character. And when you have it, you don't need to beg for validation. You walk with dignity. You speak with clarity. You lead with strength. Character means showing up when you say you will, even when it's inconvenient. It means staying loyal when it's hard, telling the truth even when it costs you, admitting when you're wrong, not throwing people under the bus to make yourself look better, not compromising your values just to fit in. It's easy to play nice when everything's good, but your true self shows when pressure hits, when things don't go your way, when no one's watching. And here's the raw truth. Building character is hard. It takes time, it takes failure, it takes self-reflection and painful honesty. It requires you to confront your flaws and decide to grow instead of blame. But that growth, that's the kind that lasts. That's the kind that makes people say, I trust her, I respect him, I can count on them. That's legacy. And no amount of makeup, no expensive brand, no physical transformation will ever give you that. Too many people are investing hours into their appearance and 0 minutes into their morals. They're chasing likes instead of loyalty. They're building a brand, but not building a backbone. That's why they crumble when adversity hits, because what's outside looks strong, but there's nothing underneath holding it together. A pretty face won't help you make hard decisions. A nice outfit won't teach you how to walk away from toxic people. A well-lit photo won't give you the courage to say no when it counts. Only character can do that. Character is also what gives you peace at night. You don't have to lie, you don't have to pretend, you don't have to keep up appearances, because your life is rooted in truth, not performance. And that kind of life, it's rare, it's powerful, it's magnetic. People can feel it, they may not always be able to explain it, but they sense it. That quiet confidence, that strength that doesn't need to shout, that's what happens when your foundation is solid, not shallow. It's time to stop focusing so much on how you look and start investing in who you are. Ask yourself, do I keep my word? Do I treat people with kindness when there's nothing in it for me? Do I speak with courage or just try to fit in? What do I stand for? If everything I had was stripped away, if the filters disappeared, the followers vanished, the applause stopped, what would be left of me? Let your answer to that question be something you're proud of. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've done the work to build a life that can't be shaken by opinions or broken by rejection. A life that reflects truth, strength, and integrity, no matter what it looks like on the outside. Because at the end of the day, your face will change, your body will age, trends will move on, but your character, that's what stays, that's what echoes, that's what defines your legacy. So fix the inside, build what's lasting, lead with character, let the rest follow. Pain has a way of disguising itself. It doesn't always show up as tears or breakdowns. Sometimes it looks like isolation. It can look like aggression or even silence. But just because you've hidden your pain well, doesn't mean it's gone. You can bury it deep. You can distract yourself with work, relationships, or goals. But unhealed wounds have a sneaky way of becoming the very lens through which you see the world. They affect your decisions, your relationships, your confidence, your peace. That's why healing isn't just important, it's non-negotiable. The problem is, healing is uncomfortable. It requires you to sit with things you'd rather ignore, to face moments you've tried to forget, to feel emotions you've been running from for years. It's not pretty, it's not instant, and it definitely doesn't happen by accident. That's why most people don't heal. They hide. They build a whole identity around their pain without realizing it. They say, that's just how I am. But what they really mean is, that's what my pain turned me into. And that's dangerous, because when pain becomes personality, growth stops. You stop seeing yourself as someone evolving and start seeing yourself as someone stuck. But you're not stuck. You're just scared. Scared to open a door that you think might break you. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't break you. Hiding does. Hiding keeps you stuck in cycles of anxiety, self-doubt, and sabotage. It convinces you that if you don't talk about it, it'll disappear. But the opposite is true. Whatever you don't deal with eventually deals with you. It creeps into your tone when you speak. It affects how close you let people get. It shapes what you believe you deserve. And most dangerously, it becomes the reason you keep repeating patterns that hurt you. You can't build a strong life on top of emotional landmines. Eventually something triggers you, and boom, everything explodes. You overreact, you shut down, you push people away, or you cling to the wrong ones. Not because you're a bad person, but because your wounds are still calling the shots. That's why healing isn't weakness, it's power. It's saying, I refuse to let this pain define my future. I refuse to let what happened control who I become. Healing starts when you stop pretending, when you stop saying I'm fine just to keep the peace, when you admit that hurt me or that changed me or that's still affecting me. That honesty is the doorway to real freedom, but it takes courage. Because facing pain means accepting that some people hurt you, that some moments broke you, that you've carried shame, guilt, anger, or regret longer than you should have. It means sitting in the truth without numbing it, without covering it up, and without trying to fix it right away. It means being okay with not being okay for a while. But in that process, something shifts. You start to reconnect with yourself. You begin to untangle your identity from your wounds. You stop blaming yourself for what wasn't your fault, and you take responsibility for what is. That's where healing becomes transformation. You don't just bounce back, you evolve, you rise, you get stronger, wiser, more compassionate. You stop settling, you start speaking up, you start showing up for yourself in ways you never have before. And let's be clear, healing is not a straight line, it's messy. One day you feel like you've moved on, and the next day something triggers a memory you thought you'd buried. That doesn't mean you've failed. That means you're human. Healing is not about erasing your past. It's about learning how to carry it without it weighing you down. It's about building a new relationship with yourself, one that's rooted in truth, grace, and growth. You owe it to yourself to do this work, not just for you, but for everyone you love. Because unhealed people bleed on those who didn't cut them. They lash out, they project, they create walls instead of bridges. And without meaning to, they pass on their pain like a baton in a race. No one asked to run, but when you heal, you stop the cycle. You say, this ends with me. You become safe, not just for others, but for yourself. A safe place to feel, to grow, to be imperfect, and to be powerful anyway. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to begin to stop covering wounds with busyness, to stop avoiding the work, because you're afraid of what you'll find. What you'll find is not weakness. It's your strength, your story, your wisdom, your voice. And that voice deserves to be heard without pain speaking over it. So don't keep hiding. Don't keep performing strength while falling apart inside. Don't wait for someone else to fix what only you can face. You are worthy of healing. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of a life that isn't built on trauma responses and survival mode. Start small: journaling, therapy, forgiveness, boundaries, talking to someone you trust, saying no to what breaks you and yes to what restores you. That's healing. That's bravery. That's choosing to live instead of just exist. Because the truth is, the pain didn't make you weaker. It made you deeper. And when you choose to heal, that depth becomes your power. Not everyone will see the work you've done, but you will feel it in your choices, in your peace, in your relationships, in your ability to stand tall with no mask, no armor, no fear. So, heal. Don't hide. You've hidden long enough. We live in a culture that rewards noise. The louder you are, the more attention you get. The more dramatic your story, the more people want to listen. We've become addicted to instant reactions, emotional outbursts, and surface-level motivation. But here's the reality most people don't want to hear. Real change doesn't happen in chaos. It doesn't happen when you're shouting your goals from the rooftops or posting about your grind every day. Real change, the kind that transforms your life from the inside out, comes through discipline. Quiet, boring, consistent discipline. The kind no one claps for. The kind that doesn't feel exciting, but that's where the magic is. Drama feels good for a moment. It gives you a rush. It lets you release the frustration, the anger, the pain, but it doesn't move you forward. Drama is emotional energy with no direction. It's loud but empty. It drains you, distracts you, and keeps you trapped in cycles that never end. One minute you're fired up, the next you're exhausted. You keep starting over because you never stick with anything long enough to finish it. Why? Because you're chasing feelings instead of building systems. Discipline, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for motivation. It shows up, rain or shine. It gets up when it's tired. It trains when it's uninspired. It chooses the right thing over the easy thing. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's gritty, and that's why it's rare. That's why people talk about what they want, but few actually live it, because talk is easy, drama is easy. Discipline requires a decision, and not just once, but over and over again, especially when no one is watching. You want to change your life? Then stop looking for the shortcut. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop letting your emotions dictate your actions. You're not always going to feel like doing the work. Do it anyway. You're not always going to feel strong. Show up anyway, because discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like it? Discipline says, this is who I am now. This is what I do. People say they want growth, but they're addicted to comfort. And nothing grows in comfort. Discipline forces you out of your feelings and into your future. It teaches you how to delay gratification, how to hold yourself accountable, how to lead yourself even when life is unfair, hard, or uncertain. It's not about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about staying loyal to what you said, long after the mood you said it in has faded. You don't need another hype video. You don't need another dramatic moment of breakthrough. You need structure. You need a plan. You need consistency. Get serious about your habits. Get serious about your time. Get serious about how you speak to yourself, because success is not just about mindset. It's about the systems that mindset creates. Systems that help you rise even when motivation disappears. Systems that keep you moving when the emotions fade. And don't confuse discipline with punishment. Discipline is not harsh. It's not cruel. Discipline is an act of love. It's saying I care enough about my future that I'm willing to sacrifice temporary comfort today. It's telling yourself, I deserve better than the life drama has me stuck in. I deserve the peace that comes from progress. Discipline brings clarity. It clears the noise. It helps you focus on what actually matters, not what feels urgent in the moment. Here's the thing, every time you choose drama over discipline, you delay your own breakthrough. You waste time explaining yourself, defending your distractions, or reacting to things that don't matter. And while you're doing all that, someone else is quietly putting in the work, not talking, not complaining, just doing it. And that person, that's the one you see a year later with the life you wanted. Not because they were better, not because they had more support, but because they were disciplined. Start looking at the little choices. Are you using your energy to create or to complain? Are you feeding your goals or feeding your emotions? Are you showing up when it's hard or only when it's easy? These are the questions that define your future, because success is not found in one big moment. It's built in small daily decisions. It's built in the gym when no one's cheering. It's built in the early morning study sessions. It's built in the extra hour of work, the saved dollar, the meal you chose not to skip. It's built when you choose responsibility over reaction. That's discipline. There are people who will always stay stuck because they can't stop needing drama. They need a crisis to feel alive. They need attention to feel valuable. But that cycle is exhausting, and eventually it empties you. Discipline is different. It doesn't exhaust you. It builds you. It gives you a foundation. It gives you a sense of control. It gives you peace because you know you're doing the right thing, even when no one else sees it. And that's the key. It's not about being seen. It's about being solid. Anyone can perform strength in front of a crowd. Discipline is what you do when the stage is gone, when the applause stops, when it's just you and your habits. And if your habits are rooted in drama and inconsistency and emotional chaos, you'll always feel lost. But if they're rooted in discipline, you'll rise every single time. So ask yourself, Do I want noise or results? Attention or growth? Excuses or evolution? Because the life you want isn't waiting at the end of some emotional roller coaster. It's built step by step, day by day, in the grind that no one sees. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Cross it every single day. At the end of the day, it's not how loud you shout about your goals, how perfect you look, or how dramatic your journey appears. It's about who you've become when no one's watching. Real change doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need applause. Real change is silent, steady, and rooted in discipline, healing, emotional control, and unshakable character. You can keep chasing quick fixes and surface-level validation. You can keep performing strength while crumbling inside, or you can do the hard, quiet, consistent work of becoming who you were meant to be. You can fix the inside not because it's glamorous, but because it's the only foundation strong enough to carry the life you deserve. So stop hiding behind the image. Stop waiting for a perfect moment. Stop letting your pain, your emotions, your distractions lead the way. Make a decision today to choose discipline over drama, healing over hiding, truth over performance, and character over cosmetics. Because at the end of it all, the world may see your outside, but you have to live with what's within. Make sure it's solid. Make sure it's healed. Make sure it's powerful. Fix the inside, and the outside will take care of itself.